Hello, my name is Kent Armstrong, president of TerraStryke Products LLC. We're based out of New England, New Hampshire specifically. I apologize for not being there. I wish I could be in person. Look forward to meeting you all in the future, but at this point, I hope to give you an interesting discussion on how we can degrade organic contaminants sustainably in an environmentally neutral strategy. Using and supporting indigenous microbial populations using biostimulation, simple biostimulation alone. What we want to try to do here is I'm going to undo me and see if I can't get my slideshow to start. I'm going to give you a little history on bacteria. Back in the early 16 to 1700s, Antonio van Leeuwenhoek was the father of microbiology. He identified planktonic bacteria and called them animalcules. What he observed were protozoa, or animalcules, little animals. But what was very interesting is after time, the planktonic solution in his test tubes over time would form a gel. What he then realized is also over time is in that gel were those same bacteria were now bound. He would harvest this bacteria, what he called biofilm, from the plaque on his teeth. Many industries have known about biofilm. Dental industry, the oil pipeline industry, when you pig a line, the medical industry, if you get an infection on your stent or your implant or cystic fibrosis. These are all biofilms where microbes have the capability of doing things thousands of times, hundreds to thousands of times faster than they can when in the bulk water. It's only until recently have we discovered that we can apply these technologies to the remediation field. Historically, we believe planktonic bacteria to be key, that unicellular organisms are solitary, capable of very little. But what we now know is less than 1% of all bacteria exist in the swimming or planktonic form. Greater than 99% of microbial populations live in a biofilm. And whether they're planktonic or in sessile forms, they communicate, they share, they signal. It allows them to share information. It allows them to recruit and, if you will, teach one another how to perform certain tasks. Because while in a biofilm, they can assess and determine what conditions around them and how they best benefit the population as a whole. So as they change their phenotype, lose their planktonic capabilities, and become sessile, they establish structures, abandon individual roles for specific roles, and begin to act as if they were a multicellular organism. What's that good for us? That means better performance, longer sustainability, and better performance. Like I said, it enhances cell-to-cell communication. When they're swimming, they're far apart and their signaling compounds get neutralized. But in a biofilm, they're on top of each other. They're allowing themselves to transmit electrons thousands of times faster than when in the bulk water, increasing conductivity. It allows them to establish nutrient and energy and metabolic sinks. It allows them protection from predation in bulk water conditions. Amoebas can glide over a biofilm, ingest the biofilm, but the bacteria present within are unharmed. A biofilm is a heterogeneous, multi-species culture working as a consortium collectively to maximize the utilization of energy available to them about them. Biofilm is the most prevalent form of biology on the planet. What we do with biostimulation is we enhance the geochemistry and the growth capacity of the treatment zone. We like to refer to the treatment zone as an ecosystem. It is an ecosystem, and we look at remediation as a holistic task, not like chemotherapy where we zap the body, kill good and bad cells, regardless of their condition, hope that the good ones come back and the bad ones don't. We like to look at this as a strategy to enhance an ecosystem to benefit the organic and the indigenous microbial populations so nature can do what she's been doing for 3.4 billion years ago. Everything we do is under anaerobic conditions. We support anaerobic conditions, and biofilm is developed best under anaerobic conditions. We maximize the microbial information sharing capabilities, so at the end, you're increasing the bulk fraction of petroleum degraders or dehalorespirers at your treatment zone. What is not biostimulation? But I will say biostimulation will work with every other technology out there, intrusive or not, thermal or not, however you want to do it. We can enhance your process. But what is biostimulation is quite simple. It's a contaminated site, in this case, a gas station. It's the delivery of some additive. It's the mixing and delivery of that additive into the subsurface, and then let your system sit, let your site sit. No above ground equipment, no energy consuming, no vapors, no emissions, no noise. Actually, an environmentally neutral process that is sustainable, and it sequesters greenhouse gases while maximizing contaminant destruction and site performance. So I'm going to first off talk about a chlorinated site we have real quickly. Our product for chlorinated sites is called ERD Enhanced. It's a carbohydrate-based component with our proprietary micronutrients. It goes in, it's delivered dry, mixes with water on site, and is delivered with a viscosity of about 2% milk. And the beauty of TPH Enhanced and ERD Enhanced here is it will not change in viscosity regardless of ambient air temperatures. Former dry cleaner in Burlington, Ontario, heavily fractured shale. So when you excavate it, it's like digging up a bunch of gray plates. Concentrations of PCE, perchloroethylene, 180,000 plus milligrams per liter, way over saturation. No daughters. Massive amounts of residual mass and dissolved-phase contaminant concerns. Value of the property at the time this individual inherited it was $680,000. Major Remediation Corporation advised them that it would take about 15 years, do pump and treat, approximately $1 million of effort. We did a pilot study in 2011, got 80-90% reduction in all daughters, all parent, and saw ethene throughout. So the MOE, the Ministry of Environment in Canada, allowed the client to do a self-implementing remedial program with G2S Environmental. They excavated about 250 cubes of contaminated soil, installed the infiltration gallery with pea gravel, gravity fed a 9% additive slurry 2 times passively, gravity fed 1,000 pounds of additive with 1,000 gallons of water in March, and 1,000 gallons of additive and 1,000 gallons of water again in June. They allowed the system to take the additive solution, the additive slurry, as it could. It was not forced in. 2 years later, 50 to 60 feet downgraded in one of the monitoring wells in the network, MW2, saw a 99.4% reduction in PCE. As the PCE was being destroyed, dehalorespirate, you saw a little bit of the increase in TCE, followed by a 99.9% reduction in TCE from peak bioavailability. As the TCE was being dehalorespirate, cis was being generated. We saw, as you would expect, an increase in cis, a 3,600% increase in cis. And upon reaching peak bioavailability, realized that greater than 99.99% reduction in cis. As that was occurring, yes, we saw the increases of vinyl chloride, but we also saw its reduction of 99.9%, with a 99.5% reduction in overall total CVOCs, ethene being generated throughout the entire process, meaning you have complete biotransformation occurring. If anybody wants to discuss reductive dechlorination, the electron cascade, I'll be more than happy to come and do a brown bag free lunch and learn at any time. Let us in, we'll be more than happy, and I'll even buy the pizza. So at this site, 2 years are into it. 4 years later, remembering the contaminated property was about $700,000 and they wanted over $1 million in 15 years to remediate it. Within 4 years, the site was redeveloped into a Scottish grocery store, never have had any indoor ambient air concerns. The value of the property in 2018 was placed at $2.5 million, and the property manager owner attributes $1 million of that value due to the remediation strategy alone. In addition, we saved them over 10 years in remediation time, and we saved them upwards of $750,000, $750,000 in remediation expenses, turning a facility into a taxable, employing, productive facility. So our product for petroleum hydrocarbons is called TPH Enhanced. It too contains our proprietary macro-micronutrient formulation, but it also contains nitrates. We use nitrates to support indigenous microbial respiration while supporting anaerobic conditions. We do not use oxygen. When we first started, again, this is about 2012, 2011, did a pilot study with the Chinook Air Force Base, and back then they were called Shaw. I don't think they had become CBI yet. I think they're now called Aptum. Did a simple on-site treatability drum test, proof of concept. They excavated smear zone contaminants, took a grab sample from the bucket of the excavator, put it in a 55-gallon drum, took another grab sample from the same bucket, put it in a drum, backfilled with site water, added TPH Enhanced to one, added an oxygen-based reagent to the other per vendor instructions. Baseline concentrations of benzene in our drum was 606. Baseline concentrations in the oxygen-based drum was about 2,000. They're grab samples, but they're the same soils. 5-7 weeks later, the oxygen performance saw a beautiful 87.8% reduction in dissolved phase contaminants. Whereas 4 weeks into the process, our drum realized a 1,600% increase in dissolved phase contaminants across the board. Then 2 weeks after achieving peak bioavailability, a straight across the board 99+% reduction in dissolved phase. We solubilized mass, we eliminated rebound up front, and destroyed the contaminants completely. If you graph that, you see the oxygen release agent had a beautiful curve of dissolved phase destruction, but no residual mass liberation. Over time, you're going to see rebound. The contaminants are bound to the matrix. They did not enhance the microbial population sufficiently to stimulate organic liberation of residual mass. And as a result, they saw what was there, they destroyed it, but they didn't get any of the rebound out. You plot TPH Enhanced, you see this, it's a 1,200% increase in dissolved phase contaminants. Startling increase. Yes, I cross myself at this point and say, come on, bugs. But then within 2 weeks, 99% reduction, so that within the same period of time, under the same conditions, biogeochemical conditions, TPH Enhanced expedited the destruction of greater than 9 times, almost 10 times the moles of benzene than oxygen did. I have a site in Seattle. This is where we start showing you what some of the bug behavior that we see and believe is the new, what we like to call bioremediation 4.0. Got a gasoline, diesel contaminated site, couple little tanks removed, contaminants go under the groundwater, huge smear zone, 20 some odd foot smear zone. Concentrations of contaminants are significant. What do we got? We got 4,900 parts GRO, 1 to 20 milligram per liter benzene, almost 100,000 micrograms per liter GRO in the groundwater. They did a simple treatability using one of the existing wells, and they deployed 462 pounds of additive with 462 gallons, that should say gallons, of a 1 to 2 TPH enhanced with water solution. So 200 pounds of additive, basically to 400 gallons of solution. They did that in April. They did that in July. And they did that again in February, the year hence. Immediately upon the first deployment and then the second deployment of the additive, we see a 4 times 10 to the 5% increase in additive concentration in the groundwater. Well, of course, we just poured it in that well. But at the same time, we saw a 3 order of magnitude increase in the heterotrophic plate count densities at the site. Baseline conditions were 2 times 10 to the 1. The majority of sites will be telling you then, that's not doable. We're not going to be able to realize bioremediation. You just don't have enough bugs. You have to augment. Well, we don't agree. Contrary to what you will commonly hear, bugs don't die. Yeah, if I put them in an autoclave, if I pour bleach on them, yeah, they're going to die. But how many autoclaves do you have at your sites? And how much bleach is being poured in? They don't die. They go dormant. You know, if we have little bits of pieces of chocolate all over the places, we're gonna love it. We're gonna be eating these little bits of chocolate all over the place, and we're gonna be fine. But if all of a sudden 15 fire hoses of chocolate come in and we're up to our chin in chocolate, we're not gonna be doing so hot. Well, that's what happens to the microbes with contamination. If you eyedropper a little bit of contaminant in the ground, they're gonna say thank you. But if you fire hose it like at a contaminated site, they go into a stress mode. They become an ultra microbacteria, lose everything but their shell and that beautiful single strand of DNA, and go dormant, hoping that the system comes back and is supportive for their growth, their communication, and their development. That's what our products do through biostimulation. So we see a 3 order of magnitude increase of what was 2 times 10 to the 1. We get to a 10 to the 4 level. And so we're good on the bugs. At the same time, as these microbes grow, they themselves secrete a biosurfactant, natural biosurfactant-like materials. They secrete peptides, they secrete polysaccharides. And these are like soap, and they wash residual mass off of the matrix into the dissolve phase where they can use it. They can't use it if it's not in the dissolve phase. So the little pink bars represent that 3 order magnitude of increase in microbial densities. Whereas the GRO bar, you see destruction ongoing as BTEX is being solubilized. And then you see them both increase with a 100% increase in GRO, a 300% increase in BTEX. This is organically getting the rebound out up front. Shortly thereafter, upon reaching peak bioavailability, over the next 6 months, we see an 88% reduction in GRO contaminant levels, and we see a 97% reduction in BTEX contaminant levels. But what's of extremely interest, the heteroplate count densities during this period of time disappeared. They went to below detection levels and to 4 to 10 to the 1, back to baseline below and below. So how did we get an 87, 97% reduction in available organic contaminants, i.e. protons, in the apparent absence of microbes? They weren't absent. At that peak bioavailability period, at that peak heterotrophic plate count period, they reach what we call a quorum level, we think. And we think when they reach this quorum level, they change their phenotype, stop swimming, and form a biofilm. When you sample your bulk water, they're not there anymore. They're in the protective housing, the biofilm, where the big bad wolf can't get them. And they can crush it. They perform and perform and perform. They share genetic material 1,000 times faster in a biofilm. They develop water channels where water itself moves 10 times faster in a biofilm than it does in the bulk water around it. They have nutrient sinks, energy sinks. They transport waste efficiently. They also exchange electrons. They line up so they can share electrons and transmit electrons thousands of times faster than what traditional literature will tell you they can do. All right, so 6 months have gone by. We've seen nice reductions. 14 months later, we still see continued reductions. And ironically, after 93, 98% of the contaminants are gone, we see a return of the heterotrophic planktonic swimmers. What happens is the biofilm matures and they use up the contaminants about them. They re-emerge, they reassume a planktonic condition. These are now educated, learned microbes who are adapted, who have evolved under real time to the contaminant conditions about them. There's more of them that were there. They're smarter than they were there before. And now they're out searching out new conditions similar to what they have so they can exploit those protons. Remember, nature doesn't think, nature doesn't care. Nature just exploits energy. When you get a disease like cystic fibrosis, you're nothing but energy. And nature just wants to exploit it. And when she's done with you, you're gone. That's what we want to do here. Medical world wants to kill biofilm. We want to enhance the biofilm. So I got another site, contaminant degradation. Again, simple. He did the same thing. 200 pounds additive, 400 gallons of water. Deployed them 3 times. This is also out in Seattle, very dense, tight area. We see we have DRO and oil-containing contaminants that say 100 to 200 parts milligrams per liter in the groundwater. Heterotrophic plate counts are, again, 4 times 10 to the 1 at baseline. He introduces the additive, and we see the green line going up because the additive is becoming available. The heterotrophic plate counts increase. We reach a quorum level, and again, all of a sudden, the heterotrophic plate counts disappear to below detection level after the second deployment. As this happens, massive solubilization of the bound contaminant mass occurs. And diesel range organics increase to 300,000 micrograms per liter. Oil range contaminants increased to 400,000 micrograms per liter. And I will be honest, when I got that data point, I went, oh my God, come on, bugs. 1 month later, in the apparent absence of planktonic bacteria, DRO drops 93% to 8.1 micrograms per liter, and the oil levels go to below detection level. At the same time, we have a return of heterotrophic plate counts to over 1 million, 9 times 10 to the million from below detection level. We went from 4 times 10 to the 1 to 3 to 10 to the 4, 3 order of magnitude increase. They disappear. As they're gone, we solubilize tons of rebound out up front, make it bioavailable, and the microbes in that community, that collective community, destroy it 99.99%, and then they come back to go find peripheral areas. We're seeing areas where we anticipated 30 to 35 feet of area of influence. We have a chlorinated site in Bridgeport, Ohio, where we've actually gotten 105 feet after 9 years of a single detection. TerraStryke biostimulation additives support the subsurface ecosystem and the indigenous microbes to expedite L-NAPL, D-NAPL solubilization and destruction. If you got pooled mass, I can't help you, but if you got stringers, ganglia, zorbed, that residual mass, that's that bane of asymptotic data and lack of compliance, we'll get it out. We'll get it out organically, and then we will destroy it. We will enhance dissolved phase contaminant destruction simply by letting the microbes utilize that contaminant as an electron donor or acceptor. It's a sustainable, environmentally neutral strategy. We sequester greenhouse gases throughout and eliminate above ground support equipment simply by letting nature have it. I thank you so much. If you want just a quick quote, the start of a discussion, please visit our website. I have a site remediation quote form there where you can simply hit click. There's a few questions and answers. It takes 5-10 minutes. Hit enter. We will be back to you in a matter of days with some ideas and numbers and suggestions as how we can provide you with a simple, smart strategy today. Real quickly, here's our contact information. Hannah is in the back there. She can help you with any contact information, and in all sincerity, if you want to get in touch with me, please contact Hannah. Hannah will say, Kent, you got to call this person. You got to do it. I thank you all so much. If I have time, you can cut this whole thing off right now, but if I have time, it's real simple for me to pick out a couple sites and say, geez, these are our highlights, and pretend like we see that everywhere. I don't want to pretend we see that everywhere. I'll prove it to you. We have a program of passive release socks. They're 5-foot long socks. They contain 2 pounds of additive each. We'll give you these at a very, very minimal cost, or if appropriately, free. And what you do is you utilize a single groundwater monitoring well at your site, a 2-inch groundwater monitoring well site. And we're going to suspend these into the saturated zone to allow you to do a proof of concept study under real time, under real site biogeochemical conditions, to provide you with a go, no-go site evaluation. If it works here, it works. If it works in the lab, you have no guarantee it's going to work here. But if it works here, it worked. And then we just fine-tune it for a whole full-scale remedial strategy. And we'll have that full-scale remedial strategy for you before you do this pilot study, so that all the stakeholders can have an idea of what's up, what to anticipate, and what we saw. There are several field parameters to monitor. This is what you need to do at every site. We can talk about that at some point. But you simply deploy these, suspend them vertically into the saturated zone. At a petroleum site, you let them sit there for 3 weeks. You're going to remove them over that 3-week period of time. We're going to create an area of influence. We're going to sample directly from that area influence. This is like a proof of concept study, not compliance, just like a lab study. So then you're going to remove those things, like I said, at a petroleum site every 2 to 3 weeks. At a chlorinated site, it's every 6 to 8 weeks. So a petroleum study takes 3-4 months. A chlorinated study can go on for up to a year. It's just the nature of the beast. There's billions of folks who can eat carbon. And it's relatively few that we know of to date who can respire chlorinated solvents. So then what you do is we amend these things. You got a small area of influence. We're not doing anything to the site that's going to preclude future performance in whichever direction you want to go. But it assures you of what's going on. And it assures you of what you might have at your site. It assists you in determining how much residual mass you have there. And give us a holler, and they're very, very simple and low cost. I thank you all very, very much. I look forward to talk to you all in person soon. Give us a holler, check out our website, talk to Hannah right there in the back room, and thank you very, very much, all of you. Have a great day.